Washington Congresswoman Kim Schrier is in the Q13 spotlight. Not only is the lawmaker a doctor and a mother, she serves one of the most politically diverse districts in our state.
I don't think I could characterize myself as anything but a community pediatrician Democrat.
Kim Schrier's 2018 victory was one of the most watched and expensive congressional races in the country. It was also a game changer for Washington politics.
We will have made history and put a Democrat as leading the 8th district in Congress for the first time ever.
In 7 short months on the job, the freshman congresswoman has found herself at the center of some of the most pressing issues of our time, in one of the most contentious political climates in recent memory.
Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough.
From the cost of health care.
It doesn't matter, again, if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you can't afford your prescription medicine.
To the battle over reproductive rights.
This is just not something that even belongs in our political discussions. This is a decision between a woman and her doctor.
To the responsibilities of Congress.
Yes, we need oversight. That's the job of Congress. And yes, we also need to pass legislation that works for the people in our district. And we can do both of those.
And joining me now in our studio is Congresswoman Schrier. Thank you so much for being here on this 4th of July week.
Thank you, Marnie, for having me.
We appreciate it. So the immigration debate, let's start there because, of course, it is front and center in our nation right now. You have demanded an investigation into conditions for migrants at the border, specifically when it comes to children and some of the images that we're seeing along the border. One of your colleagues, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, has gone even further and said she'd like to ban and close down some of these facilities. Is that a realistic solution?
Well, I think it is realistic, but I would want to just step back for a second because I think that we're going to want to think about how history will look on this moment of the United States and how we're behaving. And there have been dark moments in our history, turning ships back to World War II Europe. We have had internment camps in this country, and I look at this as one of those moments where it doesn't really matter what you think about our current immigration policy or why parents came here or any of the background. We have children at our border in our custody who can't get enough food to eat, can't bathe, don't have adequate hygiene, barely have a toilet, and are in substandard conditions. And we're a wealthy country. So I believe that, like Congresswoman Jayapal says, these places could be shut down, and the vast majority of children who are there right now, they have family, they have sponsors in our country who are waiting to receive them with open arms, that there's no reason they should be jailed in these kind of conditions.
So what do you see as a solution that we should propose moving forward, especially when it comes to what is happening in Congress and coming to some sort of an agreement or a compromise to take action?
Well, in the bigger picture, we need to pass comprehensive immigration reform. That's going to take a little while. And so for now, I think just looking at our system and saying, what can we do to expedite this process? Yes, there's tremendous burden at the border, and there are far more people coming here seeking refuge than there were before, but there is a process in place for that. And the process is that you come and you see a judge and you make a case, and in the meantime, while you're waiting for your day in court, you can stay with a sponsor. And that's where these people and families should be, not in these detention centers.
Let's talk about the 2020 presidential election because we've seen it's in full swing. We had the 2 debates last week. The polls do show that Joe Biden has been shrinking in the polls since that last debate. Are you concerned by how many Democrats at this point are in the field, if that will dilute the candidate who eventually rises to the surface?
First of all, I think that we have an embarrassment of riches here. I mean, we have some phenomenal candidates. I'm so proud of our governor for running and making this discussion about climate change. I am so glad that somebody is forcing that topic, so I have endorsed our governor. There are a lot of candidates running. I just hope that they don't battle so hard that whoever does come out in the end is damaged by our own circular firing squad.
We saw, though, today that the governor's polls are pretty low after that last debate. Hash marks is what we said, close to 0. You have endorsed him, but if he does not end up being the candidate, have you decided who you would support?
I haven't even thought that far. I think our candidates are great and they're strong, and I would just say polls are just a snapshot. It's where things are today, and polls will change a whole lot between now and Election Day.
We know that is true. All right, healthcare, obviously a passion of yours, and it is a concern right now for a lot of voters. You have raised concern about the Medicare for All policy. Some have labeled that as socialism. What do you believe is the path forward when it comes to best services in terms of healthcare needs for Americans?
So I am just a very practical person, and I want to get from point A to point B as quickly and successfully as possible. And right now what we have is the Affordable Care Act, which started with some tumbles and people were not ready to accept it. But right now, the people in my district love the Affordable Care Act. People who have insurance through their employers, they love that insurance. And so my feeling is for the people who are struggling with high costs, let's make sure they have a path to affordable health insurance, and you don't have to blow up the whole system to do that. You just need to increase affordability. And I have a plan with a public option to do that and with increasing subsidies for people who earn up to 600% of the poverty level so that nobody ends up paying more than 8.5% of their family's income for health insurance premiums.
But you would not support Medicare for All?
The way it is now, I just don't think that we need to go there. I support Medicare or a public option for all who want it. And so if people want to keep their current insurance, they can keep it. And if people want to buy into a public option, I think that is a fantastic next step.
You've been outspoken about the vaccine debate that's happening across the country. We are coming off of a real outbreak when it comes to the measles, the highest number of cases we've seen in 20 years. What would be your message to people who say it is a parent's right to choose whether to vaccinate their children and it shouldn't be mandated by the government?
Whoever knew that we would have so much need for a pediatrician in Congress, right?
Yeah, you found your role.
Really. I sort of stepped into this role at the exact right time. My biggest overarching message is that vaccines are safe and they are effective, and they are one of the greatest advances in medicine of the 20th century, and we still need them. That they are in many ways a victim of their own success because parents don't know the diseases that we're preventing. And so they have no way to really gauge risk and benefit because they have no idea what the benefits are. But we see what happens is that when immunization rates drop, these diseases come back, and that's frankly just unacceptable.
The medicine proves it. All right,
Safe and
Congresswoman
effective.
Schrier, we appreciate you being here. We know Chelan is in your district, and so they're dealing with that mudslide as they go into the holiday, and you've got holiday plans with your family, so we wish you all the best, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It was delightful to be here.
Guys, back over to you.
Happy 4th.